Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Okay, welcome to the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors meeting for January the 17th, 2022. In the room, I have Supervisor Meyer. I've got Supervisor Root. Ethan, we've got you online. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Great. We've got Supervisor Ethan Demi. Mike, we've got you online. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
We've got Supervisor Mike Thornton as well, too, coming in via Zoom. There may be some other individuals on there. Anyone who is coming in and is interested in commenting, staff will manage those comments or emails coming through. Okay, there are agendas in the back of the room. If you'd like to grab one of those. If you haven't, we do need your name on the sign-in sheet for the public record. Okay, if we can, please stand and join me in saying the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 3 on the agenda is time for public comment for non-agenda items only. There are items that we'll cover throughout the meeting. If you're here for that, we'll take comment at that time. Is there anyone here for public comment before the Board of Supervisors on non-agenda items?
And there's none by email or by chat.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Item number 4 on our agenda for this evening is something that the Board of Supervisors always looks forward to, and it's the swearing in of new police officers. We have 2 individuals that will be handling the swearing in ceremony for this evening. We have Brooke Struble and Gina Kozer. Chief, are those 2 individuals here with you? Okay, you want to come up front if you would, please? Great. Great. And before we get started, Chief, if I can, just going to welcome the 2 candidates, if I can, just say a few comments, and then we'll proceed to the swearing in, okay?
Brief introduction.
Go ahead, please do. It's all yours.
Is Miss Brooke Struble. Brooke is a graduate of Lampeter Strasburg High School, and she holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Emergency Management and Homeland Security from the Pennsylvania College of Technology. Brooke is a certified EMT with 3 years experience in ambulance service. Brooke put herself through the Reading Police Academy, graduating in June of 21. Brooke will be starting on Wednesday, the 19th, and she will be assigned to the Patrol Division under Sergeant Dole. To my immediate left is Miss Jenna Kozer. Jenna is a graduate of the Palmyra Area High School, and she holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice from Alvernia University. Jenna is an active member of the Army National Guard. She comes to East Lampeter after serving with the Reading City Police Department for 2 years. Jenna will also be starting on Wednesday, the 19th, and she will be assigned to the Patrol Division under Sergeant Dole.
Great. Great. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Thank you. So before we begin, I just wanted to make a brief comment if I can. So thank you both for accepting positions with East Lampeter Township Police Department. On behalf of the taxpayers and the citizens of both East Lampeter and Upper Laycock Township, we welcome you to our community and we wish you well in this next stage of your career. You're both stepping into this role of public safety and community policing at a time when our nation is placing a healthy and needed emphasis upon police accountability and professionalism. So thank you very much. Based upon the track record of East Lampeter Township's police behavior, which precedes you both, I can assure you that you have chosen to spend this period of your career in a community that prides itself on both of those values. However, I also need to stress without any uncertainty that East Lampeter Township is a community that places a deep respect for public service, on public service, and the men and women of our emergency response services, of which you are about to swear an oath of duty and allegiance to. Both the citizens and public office holders of East Lampeter Township look to our public safety officers for that assurance that fair, just, and firm enforcement of our community's laws will be dispensed with in a manner that preserves the civility and the security of a sound society. On behalf of the Board of Supervisors of East Lampeter Township, I wish you not only success in your career, but the reward of knowing you have spent your days in service of the people of our community and the principles of our society that are built upon the rules of law and framed and formed upon the constitutional order that is established by our forebears. Chief, thank you very much for these candidates. Thank you for coming forward to the community. If I can, I'd like to try to step forward if I can. Brooke and Jenna, you've been given a copy of this, so if you would follow along, I'll read and then you can follow along with me. And you can read at the same time as well, okay? So I, Brooke Struble, and Jenna Kozer, being a duly appointed police officer of East Lampeter Township in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the ordinances of East Lampeter Township. That I will serve the citizens honestly and faithfully, but discharging the duties of my office with honor and fidelity. I will perform all of my duties as a police officer in accordance with the law. And I will obey orders and conduct myself at all times in accordance with the rules and regulations set forth by the department. I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately without any consideration of class, color, creed, condition, race, sex, age, sexual orientation, national origin or ancestry, handicap or disability, never employing unnecessary force or violence, and never accepting gratuities. Thank you very much. Welcome on board. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chief, any final comments about your two candidates?
Well, they didn't practice that, but boy, that was impressive. So if that's any indication of the kind of employees we'll be, I'm very excited.
I had to stop and listen if they were in unison or if it was one person saying. That's great. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, I'd like to call forward Officer Ryan Wiggin. So we've had Officer Wiggin in front of you before for commendations, and I can tell you that Officer Wiggin is one of the hardest working officers that you have here. I'm very proud to present this to him, delayed as it may be, and that's of no fault of his. Officer Wiggins, on Wednesday, March the 3rd, 2001, approximately 8:28 p.m., you observed an occupied vehicle in the parking lot of the Red Fin. You approached the driver, who was visibly nervous, and he advised you that he was visiting someone at the hotel and was smoking in his car because he couldn't smoke in the hotel room. Leaving the subject as he was, you went about your routine of checking the guest list at the hotel looking for known wanted individuals. You recognized the name of a female subject whom you knew to have outstanding arrest warrants. Upon confirming the warrants, you called for backup and approached the room where the female subject was staying. After establishing contact with the female and confirming her identity, you placed her in custody and at her request, entered the room to retrieve her cell phone. She called you back before you found her phone, but not before you observed illegal drugs in plain view. You received consent to search the room, discovering over 300 bags of heroin and over $2,000 in drug money. Further questioning of the female revealed that the driver of the vehicle you initially had a contact with was in fact the suspect who brought the drugs and the money to the female's room. You reestablished contact with the male subject in possession of foundational evidence that the drugs and money were in fact his, and that he had brought them to the room to sell to the female in custody. You placed the male subject under arrest along with the female and had all parties transported to East Lampeter Township Police Department. In October of 2021, the male subject was found guilty of possession with the intent to deliver, as well as possession of drug paraphernalia, was sentenced to 5 to 10 years. Your instincts, observations, actions are all attributes of the highest level of drug interdictory policing. The significant amount of the legal narcotic that you took off the street helps make East Lampeter a better and safer community. You are commended for your outstanding work. Thank you for your service to our community. The other two recognitions for the Life Saving Award will not be taking place tonight, as one of those officers is currently has COVID. So I will postpone that to a future meeting and we'll gather again. Good. Take care of that.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much. Before you walk out, Chief. So our two new candidates, family here visiting with us. You want to introduce? There's a lot of head shaking. Uh-oh. Welcome, welcome. You have a great young person joining the force here. So looking forward to it. Great, awesome. Thank you for bringing Brooke, Jenna. Thank you both very much. Looking forward to it. Officer Wiggand, anybody here that you would like to point out to us? There you go. And there's a boatload of them right there too. So we appreciate that. Thank you guys, all of you for coming. Before we break, Chief, I think Supervisor Meyer wanted to offer just a few comments, if we can, about Officer Robin Weaver.
Sure. I had the pleasure of knowing Robin Weaver for 20 plus years as a friend and neighbor. I want to thank the East Lampeter Township Police Department for holding vigil at Robin's viewing, our friends at Lafayette Fire Company for hosting the visitation, and the Lancaster community for showing the family support. Robin spent 33 years as an officer of East Lampeter Township before retiring in March 2017 as a lieutenant. Lieutenant Weaver was a recipient of numerous awards and commendations during his career. Officer of the Year in 1989, 2 commendations for investigations in 92 and 1993, and a life-saving award in 1999. Lieutenant Weaver is survived by his wife, Luana, his 4 children and 4 grandchildren, and many neighbors in Southridge Farm, and many brothers and sisters here as well. Please join me in a brief moment of silence for Robin and his family. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Appreciate that. Thank you, Chief, as well. Too. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, officers, very much. Appreciate that. Okay, we're going to continue on with the rest of our agenda. Item number 7 is the reappointment of the township representative to the Emergency Services Committee. Susan Yoder has agreed to continue in that role. Is that correct? correct, Ralph?
That's correct. Mike had made contact with her, and she is willing and would like to be reappointed.
Okay, so Susan's term would run through the end of 2023.
Yes, 2-year term. That's correct.
Thank you, Mike, for making that contact. Really appreciate that. So is there a motion for the appointment of Susan Yoder to the serve as the Township Representative to the Emergency Services Committee?
So moved.
Sounds like Mike made the motion, correct, Mike? Is there a second, Roger? Okay. So Mike made the motion and Roger seconded. Those in favor? Aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thanks, Mike and Roger. Okay, item number 8 is the consent agenda. We have the approval of the January 17th, 2022 Board of Supervisors meeting agenda. We have the approval of the minutes of the Monday, January 3rd, 2022 regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors. And we have the approval to pay invoices from numerous funds. The total is $461,118.03. There are a couple of items of note, $238,258.32 to the City of Lancaster for our quarterly sewer flow charges, and $9,715 to WatchGuard Incorporated for license plate reader equipment for the police department. Are there any public comments about the items for payment?
There are not.
On online? Okay, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? A motion has been made by Corey, seconded by Roger. Questions or concerns? Hearing none. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 9, old business. There is none. Item number 10, we've got new business. 10A, CV Elementary School waiver of land development and stormwater management plan number 21-26, 455 Mount Sydney Road. Is there anyone here on behalf of the applicant? Anyone here on behalf of the applicant? Yeah, if you can step forward. Thank you. You'll need to speak directly into that for online to hear us. If you want to, you can take it off and walk around with it too as well. So whatever is comfortable for you, okay?
My name is Adam Whalen with A&W Engineers. I'm here representing Conestoga Valley School District. Conestoga Valley School District is looking to renovate the existing Gerald Huskin Middle School to accommodate the new Smoketown Elementary. The overall campus Sydney Road.
Can you bring it up here, Adam, if you would? You can just set it up here at the table. Great. We have it up there on the screen. Well, public can see that.
This is blown up for all the improvements, but here's the overall campus. The northeast corner.
You're going to need to grab that mic. Sorry, Adam. Yep. We're gonna challenge you here, Adam, with our tech. There you go.
Okay. So yeah, the northeast corner here, Mount Sydney Road and Fortune Road, they're looking to propose site renovations to the existing Gerald
Huskins.
Huskin, there you go. Huskin campus. They're proposing to remove some parking at some locations for new playgrounds, to do some mill overlay in the other parking lot areas, sidewalk improvements, and a new parking lot at the drop-off loop in the front.
Mhm.
So control that. So you can see here the drop-off loop right in front of the campus right here.
Mhm.
We're looking to replace the parking that we're losing on the other side of the building,
Mhm.
put the parking there.
Mhm.
A couple other parking spaces on the side of the building here. And they're also looking to expand the size of the stormwater basin that all that is referred to.
Mhm. Mhm.
Tonight, we're looking to receive a waiver for the land development review process. The only thing that triggered this was that there's a approximate 140 square foot vestibule buildings, affecting the building condition. It's so minor that township engineer and myself thought that stormwater management plan review would be the appropriate way to go about this. In addition to that, we're looking to get a waiver for loading areas, the loading area ratio, which is the total amount of impervious cover that gets into a basin. In the existing condition, it's well exceeded because it was constructed way back when. And in the proposed condition, we're expanding that basin footprint and making the situation a lot better. The overall, there is no increase in the total impervious cover from this development. We're actually decreasing it by a little bit. So we're just making the overall situation better for stormwater management, and those are the two waivers that we're going for tonight.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Adam.
I guess
Board.
we're also going for permission.
Yep.
Okay. Board, any questions? Ethan, Mike, any questions?
No.
Ethan and Mike, there was a updated township engineer letter brought forward to the board. We just got this when we came tonight, and staff is telling me that you two do not have this. It's dated January 17th. And Tara, do you want to summarize? I can summarize for Ethan and Mike.
It's up to you.
I mean, there are two waiver requests on here, and DMA is recommending that both waivers be granted. And the stormwater management note is minor. It's for making notation and notifying the township.
And then the final item would be a escrow account for the ENS on the site.
Oh, okay.
And if I may, there's an existing NPDS permit for the whole campus right now open because of the middle school project that's going on out there. As part of that, we are amending that permit to include these improvements and modifications to the site. So we're in that current process when we get the approval provided.
Okay. Tara, anything else to add for Mike, Ethan? Nothing?
I don't believe so.
Ralph, anything additional?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, just one question to Tara. The mention you just made, is that in the DMA letter?
It was in a previous letter.
Okay. So could you just word that if I would make a motion to include?
Absolutely. There needs to be a cost opinion provided by the applicant for review by the township engineer.
Okay. All right. Ethan, Mike, anything else? Nothing?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
No questions? Okay. Applicant, anything else, Adam?
No.
Okay, great. Corey?
Yeah, sure.
Interested in making a motion for me?
Make a motion for CV Elementary School waiver of land development and stormwater management plan based on the contingent on the letter January 17th from David Miller and Associates. In addition, adding a cost opinion by the applicant, which would be reviewed by the township engineer.
Okay. Motion is on the table. Is there a second? And motion's been made by Corey, seconded by Roger. Questions or concerns? Public comment?
There is none.
Okay, hearing none. Let me do a roll call. Ethan?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Roger? Corey?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion carries. Okay, that's it, Adam. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I was going to say, Gerald Huskin is on the planning commission, so you better get, if you're the one who comes back, you gotta get that right next time. Okay.
Man, you're in
Okay.
trouble, man. You're going to see him face to face. He's a real threatening guy. All right, 10B under new business, Quarry View Building Group Land Development Plan number 21-27, 2603 Lincoln Highway. Someone here on behalf of the applicant. There you go, Mark. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. That's good. Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
My name is Mark Hackenberg. I'm principal and landscape architect for OGS Associates. With me tonight is Ben Case, the SK Real Estate Group, and the owner of 480 Building Group, the group that's developing this project. You'll recall we were in front of you back in April of this past year, April 2021. We received conditional use approval from the Board of Supervisors for the adaptive use of the historic structures that are occurring on this particular property. This property is located at 2603 Lincoln Highway, just east of the 897 interchange in the Rockville outlet area. Immediately across the street from this property is the Travel Plaza. Seeking familiarity. I will just add, Jake Krieger, there's another gentleman who was with me at the hearing, one of our designers. He is actually in case there are any technical details. Jake's unable to be with us tonight, but I asked him to join us.
Very good. Good.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So the application that's before you is the land development plan that is basically carrying forward the conditional use approval that was granted for the accessory use. And that was to build, the accessory use is basically to build a new shop on this property for 480 Building Group. The plan also represents some easement areas. Ben has negotiated some easements with the neighboring property owner, and that's a subject of a conversation I'd like to have this evening. As a part of that conditional use approval that was granted, there were 3 conditions, and those were that non-material deviations in order to comply with township ordinance requirements may be considered and approved by the Board of Supervisors at LD. 2.5 acres at land development plan, which is where we're at right now. Item number B was 2.5 acres shall remain in active agricultural use at all times. And the third condition was that no outdoor storage would be permitted and that all storage must occur in new and existing structures. Those are all material compliance matters, and we certainly intend to comply with those provisions. They do, in fact, affect a couple of matters related to the project. So the Planning Commission actually recommended approval last week on the 11th. And that approval is conditioned on the RGS letter dated 12/17/2021, the MA letter dated 1/7/2022, and county comments. There were a number of waivers, and I can certainly get down through them. Mr. Chairman, I'm not quite sure how you want us to proceed. We have a number of comments, some of which are zoning related, some of which are land development related. There are basically 4 items I'd like to talk about.
Fine. Go
If
ahead.
you want us to focus on that,
Yep.
and then we can take actions following.
That's good.
And entertain questions as we proceed. That's probably the most efficient and
Yep.
effective.
That's good.
So I'll touch briefly on, I'll just basically touch on the waivers just at a high level, and if you have questions about them, I'll certainly entertain them. So the waivers that are requested associated with the project are: 1, to file the plan as a final plan. We're asking relief from the preliminary plan approval process. Certainly all the preliminary plan requirements need to be provided. Planning Commission and staff supported that request. The second item was SALDO section 504.A curbing. We're seeking a waiver of frontage and internal curbing related to the site. And this was a topic of conversation we had with the Planning Commission, and it basically relates to the fact that this property is in fact an existing non-conforming agricultural property. So the applicant is intending, and through conditional use approval, is intending to convert some of the buildings to maintain the historic character of this property. But we're asking for consideration of the waiver of the curbing improvements along the frontage. So the Planning Commission did not see fit to grant that waiver. I think they were basically feeling like a deferral was appropriate. And I think from the applicant's perspective, as we're thinking about this segment in this corridor of Route 30 and the Lincoln Highway, it largely is, and as we presented at the conditional use hearing, is the sort of the welcome mat or the agricultural welcome into the eastern side of Lancaster. So I think Ben's concern my client's concern is that long-term, having this matter hanging over whether or not he's going to have to construct frontage improvements on an agricultural property is one that seems a bit precarious. So we're asking supervisors' consideration of waiving the curbing requirement in its entirety, both internally and on the perimeter of the site. So that is a bit of a deviation from what the planning commission was in fact recommending. I guess I'll pause and we can have a conversation on that.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. So the board tracking with DMA letter item number 2 under modifications and waivers. Township engineer has reviewed it. Planning commission has reviewed it. Applicant is making the case that rather than having a deferral placed on the plan, that the board consider a complete waiver of both the internal to the property and external on the perimeter, that those be waived completely. Thoughts? Ethan, Mike?
I have a comment. What will the deferral do?
The deferral would require, Mike, that a note be put on the plan, and that at a future point in time, should East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors determine that they want those frontage improvements put in, the applicant, the owner at the time would be required to put those in.
A deferral agreement would be recorded as well.
And a deferral agreement would be recorded as well, Mike.
Okay.
As opposed, Mike, as opposed to the applicant is asking for a full waiver, meaning they would be relieved of those requirements of the ordinance.
And the premise behind that, again, I get back to the notion that this is a non-conforming agricultural property. It's 5 acres. The supervisors granted an approval in 2009, created that condition, subdivided off of adjoining agricultural land. And as we've said all along, the purpose and intent is to retain the historic character of these buildings. We've agreed to storing everything inside. Then we're going to have another conversation in a bit about the continuity of the agricultural use on the property, and we're believing in that notion that the coexistence of the commercial use to support the continuity of these buildings occurring on this property is one piece, but the agricultural element, we've agreed to the 2.5 acres, and that continued agricultural use is important to the region. And we've acknowledged that through the conditional use proceedings by accepting those conditions. And we just believe that long-term, it's the burden that Ben ultimately has to deal with. And whether it's resale of the property at some point in time, it's an element that we're asking consideration.
That explain it to you, Mike?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just considering, well, the purpose of curbing is to preserve the integrity of the difference between the blacktop and the grass, and you're going to have a lot of vehicles in and out, truck traffic, things of that nature. I think it does tend to keep people honest as they're moving in and out, keeps it clean and a uniform piece. I don't know if there's any other comment about the curbing, Ralph, that you could add?
Well, there is curbing essentially right across the street from the site. And I would argue that the use is actually now a conforming use. The board approved it as a conforming use under the historic overlay provisions of the ordinance. So it's not a non-conformity in my view. Deferrals have been done on many projects that the board has looked at, that some of which I would say are similar to this.
Mike, the DMA letter, the township engineer's review of this, has considered the applicant's request for a full waiver, and they're recommending that the waiver not be granted, but that a deferral be granted.
Right. I saw that.
So you're some of the points that you were making there, while those are good points for, development and for, ensuring infrastructure and safety of the public and so forth. The engineer's letter is in fact suggesting that we do grant the deferral. So those improvements would not be made if we were to follow the engineer's review. Just so you're aware, they would go into an agreement that at some point in the future they could be, the applicant could be, the owner could be required to put them in. So just so you're aware.
Yeah, I guess the other thing I could offer is that the applicant's in the process of obtaining an HOP from PennDOT for the driveway. And it would be up to PennDOT in terms of that driveway improvement as to whether or not curbing at that location would be required.
Yeah, as designed, the driveway actually has widened aprons to support the vehicular movements without vehicles entering into the center turn lane. So yeah, we pay attention to the geometry of the intersection at this point proposed without curbing, largely because there's no curbing on either interior to the project or exterior to the frontage.
Do you believe PennDOT's not going to require it? Or
No, we don't believe it. Okay. The volumes of traffic that we're talking about are relatively low. Use type that we're talking about.
Ethan, anything from you?
When I look up and down the Lincoln Highway, you've got, up at North Bronx Road where it intersects, we have curbing and sidewalks along Paradise Concrete. We've got some curbing right across the street. So from 896 to North Bronx, there's multiple sections where there is curbing. I'm comfortable deferring. I don't think we need to waive it completely.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Ethan. Corey.
I'm with Ethan. I'm perfectly fine with deferral at this point.
Okay, Mark, we can keep going to the next point. Next point, 3.
The next one is a waiver request for stormwater management section 302A2C. It's the same request that was asked for the previous project, and basically loading ratios. We have an area where we have some fairly substantive drainage coming down through, and also in this case, in pre-development condition, we're actually exceeding the ratio requirements, so the ability for straight up compliance. We do have a letter from the geologist that supports the request based on the soil types and the conditions that they had encountered in testing. So we're asking for the loading ratio.
Okay.
The next one, 403, section 403B, that's a Saldo. Section 403B is plan scale. Plans are derived to that 1 inch equals 30 is very good to the fixed sheet sizes.
Yep.
Saldo sections 503A11 and 503G1 relate to street right-of-way improvements. We are seeking relief from the full frontage improvements as well as the dimension of the right-of-way dedication. This particular stretch of the corridor, of the Route 30 corridor, Lincoln Highway corridor, is actually identified in the township ordinances to receive 100-foot right-of-way. The bulk of the right-of-way, at least as near as we can tell, certainly across the street, is limited to 30 feet. So we're proposing to dedicate the remaining 30 feet for consistency of a 60-foot wide right-of-way. And if you think about the character of the corridor, I think where the 100-foot makes sense is when you get west of 897 and you get into the 5-lane highway sections. Down in this area, from what we know, understanding conversations with staff, the bulk of right-of-ways down in this region are more along the 60 foot. So we're asking for relief to be consistent with the opposing right-of-way. And then there is one section which is more of a consideration, and this relates to exceeding a parking requirement. When we went through the conditional use proceedings, we were having conversations with staff. There was a recommendation for more parking spaces than were actually flat out required. Zoning ordinance section 22160.f.4 requires where parking exceeds 125% of the minimum requirement that it come with supervisor approval. We're creating awareness. We're asking for up to 150%. I think the ratios as they relate to the number of spaces on the plan right now are just above 130%. So kind of set a threshold depending on what happens with the total number of parking spaces. So we're asking for supervisors' acknowledgement to exceed the minimum.
Okay.
Regarding the comments, there are 3 specific comments I'd like to raise for conversation. The first one is, and honestly, we would have addressed these and would have resubmitted these, and found out Friday we were coming to see you today. So the item number 4 under zoning comments relates to the dumpster. We have had conversations, Ben and I've had conversations about moving the dumpster actually inside. Yeah, so we're actually going to move the dumpster inside the structure rather than do an exterior fencing and screen. So plans is there recently.
Okay. Good.
Item number 5, which the planning commission recommended was not to be considered, is a matter we would like to ask the supervisors to discuss. So we would like to discuss, and it relates very specifically to farm stand use. There's a specific desire as to why a farm stand use is important to Ben and important to this property. He has an obligation under the conditional use approval to utilize 2.5 acres for continued agricultural use. As Ben, and I'll ask you to weigh in as statements may not be 100% accurate. The agricultural use on that remaining 2.5 acres is an obligation that he has, and also an opportunity that he has from a business standpoint for his family to actually do a farm stand. So we've had conversations with staff about implementing a farm stand on this property. This matter also relates to clean and green and changing use on the property. So as Ben has been contemplating and looking at the various matters related to the use of this property, a farm stand use is something that he is interested in considering as an ability to leverage the 2.5 acre obligation he has for continued ag use of the western portion of the property. I think the matter again relates to the fact that this is a 5 acre property and not a 10 acre property, as is a requirement of the agricultural zoning district. And in the matter of discussion, as we've explored it with Matt Green, who was representing Ben, Matt did share a statement with us, and I'll read verbatim his statement because I think it's important to have this conversation and discussion. So roadside stands are permitted by right in the ag zoning district as accessory to an agricultural or horticultural use. Road stands are permitted by right, subject as accessory to both agricultural and horticultural uses. The property was created by a subdivision approved by the township and a deed recorded in 2009 as a 5.14 gross, 4.62 net acre agricultural use property. The use of the property has remained unchanged since that time, with approximately 2.5 acres of cropland and the farmstead being vacant in steadily deteriorating condition. In testimony at the conditional use hearing, Mr. King committed to keeping the approximate 2.5 acres in active agricultural use while repurposing the buildings to a contractor's business office and storage lot that was made a condition of approval. While the zoning ordinance requires that an agricultural use to be started at this time have a minimum of 10 acres of lot size, the continuing agricultural use on the property is non-conforming to that standard as a result of the subdivision and was not only recognized as a lawful use in the conditional use presently, was required to be continued. So again, Matt's position, and I think ours as well, is that the agricultural, regardless of size, has had a standing since 2009. And his point is that he believes, and Ralph, I respect your opinion, but he believes that existing agricultural use is a non-conforming condition that should be allowed to continue to exist, and that a farm stand as accessory to that should be permitted. The size farm stand that Ben's talking about is a 5x10 farm stand. It's mobile, it's intended to be on wheels, it's intended to be seasonal. It's not the same, we're not competing with large farm stands up and down the court. And again, a part of this is related to the opportunity to make a revenue stream off of the agricultural portion of this property, so that he can utilize that portion for this particular purpose. It's a dual use, we recognize that, but it's an agricultural use that already exists.
Okay.
So we're asking for consideration of the farm stand to be acknowledged from the land development plan. And what that means is we have parking application, parking on the property, so where the farm stand is at. Our storm systems right now are designed, we don't have to add any parking to actually achieve the parking ratio. We can easily accommodate the additional 50 square feet for stormwater purposes. We'll show an approximate location, recognizing that it's on wheels and has the ability to be moved. So in our opinion, but for the 10 acres, which we believe is already an existing non-conforming condition, we believe we have the right to farm stand use. So we're asking the supervisors to exercise condition A of the conditional use, which was a non-material deviation in order to comply with the township ordinances.
Board, we hadn't heard this at the conditional use hearing. The first time we're hearing it. And I think, applicant has, recognized that it was not part of that presentation.
That's correct.
It was not part of the presentation. And did you make presentation, Mark, to the planning commission on this?
We made it as part of our application. Planning commission would not entertain the discussion on the matter because they felt it was inappropriate. That's when we circled back to council. Council's point was that the size of the parcel is immaterial because the size of the parcel existed before the application occurred. And again, it's believed from Matt's opinion is that this is an accessory use to the agricultural use that's permitted on the property. So in his mind, he doesn't believe it needs to go back to the conditional use proceeding. He believes we have a right to it, but again, that's a.
Sure.
We're
I
asking
understand.
supervisors to
Understand. Why wouldn't it go before zoning hearing board?
That's my question.
I mean, not that, I think there's a case being made in front of the zoning hearing board for this, Mark. Is there a reason why you're not going to zoning?
I think Matt's position is that he doesn't believe that needs to go to this. He believes we have a right of agricultural use based on the fact that the 5-acre lot was created well before, and it's a continuation of the ag use.
That non-material item just strikes me like I feel like this is material. This is, I would have hoped it would have come up at the conditional use hearing when we were in a hearing and we could have made that decision. Non-material that's minor stuff. I mean, this is going to create traffic. This is going to create, we hope people buy stuff from that farm stand if you set it up. To me, it's, there were non-material things on here that to me, that's material. So I guess one question is why didn't it come up at the conditional use hearing?
At the time the conditional use hearing was occurring, we were focused on the commercial building. And only later, as we're discovering all the requirements of the clean and green matters, frankly, this is
new information.
This is new information
Okay.
that was presented.
That's fine.
Been faced through the process.
Yeah,
Are the cleaning green issues, and you might not be able to answer this question, or are they jeopardizing the project?
No, I would say not today.
Ben, can you?
Ben, if you just-
Oh, sorry, Ben, you got to talk into the mic there. Ethan and Mike are not going to know what you're
It's
talking
so hard to
about.
be on the other side. Sorry.
There you go, perfect.
So, no, I wouldn't say it's really jeopardizing the project. There is the easement being a little bit of a challenge because of it being connected to the commercial use, where we might be faced with paying the rollback on the Stoltzfus farm for the past 7 years, which would be a significant amount of money. So having get the clean and green on our property, I think we'll be able to get past that.
Okay. Thank you, Ben, for answering that question. That's
Just
helpful.
to, I guess, the farm stand kind of helps make that case as well, that bringing the amount of revenue in that we need green. As part of that, we wouldn't be able to just lease that to the farmer. It would have to be something we're producing on the site ourselves.
I mean, I don't think any of us are interested in seeing this project stop.
Right.
You know, we see this project move. We've, you know, spent, you know, a lot of time and effort, you know, trying to make this work, trying to help the applicant with the opportunity. It's a tremendous benefit to the community as well, too. I would have concerns if there's some reason that this new information were to potentially jeopardize the whole project. That would be a concern. Ralph, thoughts? Helping us to see perspective on it.
I'm certainly no expert in clean and green, but my understanding of clean and green is that it's done parcel by parcel. So I don't know why this parcel would remain in clean and green, whether or not there's a farm stand there at all. It doesn't make any sense since the conversion of use of this property is happening. So I would not expect that this 5-acre parcel would remain eligible for clean and green regardless.
I think what I'm hearing from the applicant, maybe you're answering it, but I'm not hearing it. I'm not answering, I'm following you, is that easement on that parcel north could cause them to take liability for clean and green on the property north.
Yes, the entire 65 odd acres.
Yeah.
And just to be clear too, the clean and green actually would not apply to the commercial portion of the property, just it's for the agricultural. So
2.5
the
acres.
rollback tax or the tax credits that we get would just be on the agricultural portion of our property.
So they're basically two separate parcel issues. There's the clean and green associated with this piece of real estate here,
Yeah.
and there's the clean and green.
Clean and
associated
greenness with that
use
one.
of this area here. We're going to have another, I'll raise it now, because it's another question. It's not incorporated into the conditional use decision, but we are asking, we would like to ask consideration because it then has an application before the tax assessment office on these clean and green matters. We'd like to ask the supervisors for consideration of allowing us to utilize this front face for the door for access. And the importance of that is that if he uses the upstairs, the upper portion of the barn for the agricultural operation, in lieu of using all of this back real estate for his commercial operations, this is less precarious. If this is the sole means of ingress and egress and access to this building, and he has to use it, that jeopardizes the whole 65 acre, the clean and green implications here. So a part of this discussion, and again, these are all matters that were not had not been uncovered at the time we were approaching. We were approaching use discussions, so we had not ventured down this road. So that is one issue that we're interested in getting some guidance on this evening. But Ben, maybe you can describe that better than I did, but that's in essence what we're asking for consideration.
Your thoughts, staff.
It sounds to me like the applicant really wants to reopen the conditional use case to address these issues. And that really may be the only way to address them. Staff raised issues during the time of the conditional use hearing about the location of that building, which have now prompted these further issues. Totally within the applicant's ability to anticipate and frustrating to me that they were not.
Mark, from Ralph's statement, you've been around the block, you know how this works. The pursuit of a board like this, a public body's temperature, taking their temperature to see, how does a body like this see an entrepreneur's vision for how they're going to use a parcel, and buildings, is one thing. Going through a full conditional use hearing, staff time, board time, public time, the applicant's investment, to have us come back around now and, I think we're all ready to stamp this thing and say, this is a great use of this property. Let's move on this. And to hear now that you're wanting to have a conversation about even the use of the buildings again now and how we access them on this piece of property and what the potential walking away from an easement on the north would mean for it, maybe. I guess staff's frustration is going to make its way into the way that we proceed with the conversation. When you were taking the temperature of this board, prior even to stepping into the full, hearing, were you guys not aware of these items? Were you not looking at these items? Were you not?
Be happy to.
Thank you, Ben.
commentary for that.
Thank you, Ben.
So actually at the conditional use hearing, we actually had the doors in front. The easement was not a part of the conversation at that point. So this is not really a big part of that conversation. The primary reason we needed an easement was for access to the second floor of the barn. When they did the property line actually crosses every part of the hill to access the second floor of the barn. There's not enough of a turn radius to even access that. Even right now, the existing driveway, if you look at the map, crosses over into the Stolzfus farm.
Right.
In order to, and even that's not enough to really get up there. So that was, our original plan actually had, we hadn't really needed the easement to really make use of this building and still wouldn't have to. That was more driven by just conversation along the way. Staff had some concerns about loading, unloading in front. We felt like if we're going to do the easement anyway, there's no reason we can't have the doors in the back. So our position is it would work fine either way at this point for us from an operations standpoint. But that's not really what is driving the easement conversation at all.
So the easement wouldn't be required if we revisited the original idea, which was to access that barn or that building from the front.
It wouldn't be required for this building, correct, but still would not address the accessibility to the
Second story of the barn. You were going to say something?
No,
Oh.
I don't know how to make these changes when we already had a condition, so I guess my question to staff is, John, is we know we want a project there, right? We love your vision, Ben, right? I think that's what John is saying, and I think we all agree with that. Is it a conditional use hearing to handle both of those issues? If it was just the farm stand, it seemed like in my head, I was at a zoning hearing board. I don't think that's a non-material thing. But if for both, can both be handled via conditional use?
Yeah. That's a good question. You're saying yes, that they both could be
Yes, I would.
managed by that.
I would say if the applicant would ask for the conditional use to be reopened, this whole process that goes into doing that, the advertising, posting,
Right.
hearings,
Could we in the quickest realm, could it be 30 days from now? Is that how?
No.
No, okay, 45. 60.
45 is pushing it with advertising.
Okay.
That's required.
Okay.
Or its requirements. Let me just
Yeah,
check.
sure.
Ethan, Mike, are you tracking with this thoughts conversation?
I'll give us some brief thoughts. the big picture piece here is what we've done up to this point is attempting to solve a problem that this board created. Well, not this board, but a previous board. Roger may have been there, which is subdividing an agricultural parcel into a small parcel that doesn't meet our own requirements for an agricultural parcel. And that's also then made that parcel undevelopable and cause it to go into the disrepair it has been. So almost every action we've taken to this point has been trying to correct the problem that we created, which is my understanding of the collective view of the board is we'd like to see this property restored and still have it fit within the agricultural surroundings as much as possible. And what do we need to do to sort of make it look like a working farm to the tourists and visitors that come into Lancaster County on Route 30? So in my mind, what we've done here is we've approved an additional use under the historic overlay that is that commercial use. But my opinion is it's an ag site, and you've clearly got farmable land there. So it may not meet the requirements of the size of the parcel, but we created that problem. So if they can produce vegetables on or some other agricultural produce on that and sell it in a small farm stand to help the business owner, I think that's a by right use. I don't think it's a huge material change to the plan. I think it makes perfect sense with what our objectives are and what the underlying use of the property is, which is it's an ag property and we'd like to see it preserved.
Thank you, Ethan. And Ethan, what about the last item that we heard from the applicant in relation to the storage building and the issues related to the easement? I mean, are we changing that, Mark? Is that coming up for conversation? And if so, then I think Ralph is saying that that's conditional use discussion.
Yeah, the only thing I'm hearing is, hey, we'd like to put a roadside stand, and we just have a disagreement between staff, which says it's a special exception, but it's not in an ag zone. It's by right. So it's it doesn't meet our special exception requirements. And it technically doesn't meet our by right requirements. So it's more of it's a gray area. So it's a matter of, do we think a roadside stand fits with this parcel and fits as an ag use? Yes, that's my opinion.
And Ethan, just so I'm clear, I asked the second question, and there was discussion by the applicant about the storage building and access to the storage building. Having a discussion here about perhaps changing the access to that building and so forth. Were you catching that?
I was tracking with that. What I heard was they would be doing some processing and storage of those agricultural products that are sold in the roadside stand in that second floor. So it meets the requirement. So having that access, plays into the agricultural use, which I think storing ag products in a barn is an agricultural use, and I agree.
Thank you. Mike.
Well, I'm playing catch up a lot on this project. My first concern is, are there people that don't have a stand because they don't meet the criteria that we have as a township, and they haven't had a stand for their lifetime of their ownership of a property because they don't meet the standard? How many of those are in our township? I don't know. I was not tracking exactly, was there a significant conditional use question on the access and storage building? That part, if you can rephrase that, John, that would be helpful.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have the applicant do that in just a moment, Mike, because I also need that clarified. So thank you, Roger.
We can't hear anything if someone's talking.
You're probably gonna have to, but you want. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I was probably on the board when we redid this property. What was the year, 2009?
Yeah. 2009.
So my question is, how are we going to define material changes? And then also the second part of the question is, did we do the conditional hearing for this service by not bringing these matters up?
I think staff is saying that these issues should have been brought up. That's what staff is communicating to us. However, Ethan is making the case, and Matt Cream has made the case through the applicant, reading that there's an issue here that the board's probably dealing with as a result of the prior boards, carving out this 5-acre parcel and then keeping it consistently used.
A private owner came to this board to subdivide it. A prior board, which we are responsible for as a board in the future, an applicant came and they approved it. We didn't do anything. That board didn't do anything other than approve what a landowner wanted. So,
Regarding the process question, my recommendation to the board would be that you get township solicitor advice on the appropriate process for pursuing these issues.
To that end, I think what may be the best thing to do tonight is to table our conversations to Ralph's point, because the other, Ben and I just had a very brief conversation, but the other issue is that at some point in time, he could come back if he wanted to pursue, this with specificity. He could come back before the township through either a zoning hearing process or an updated conditional use application if we were coming back and saying there was substantive change. He finds out from tax assessment that the commercial circulation around the back of the building is a game changer. And we need to come back to the conditional use process to seek something different. That may be the time to do it. Now, on the flip side, if we table tonight and you decide you want to go back through the conditional use process, we probably still have 60 days until we get a permit for the PennDOT. So timing wise, I don't know that a decision tonight. In fact, we were anticipating we might be at next month's meeting until Colin reached out to us and said you're on Monday night. So, having had this conversation, I think you understand the dilemma or a little bit of the complexities that we're facing. And the situation that Ben is still trying to get answers on from tax assessment relates to the Stolzman's property. And that shared use on that Stolzman's property could be much more significant financial implications as it relates to the project. So I think what I would ask tonight is that we table the discussion, if you're okay with that, Ben. But I do think we would like to engage Matt and Township Council on procedurally what the most appropriate path forward looks like.
Good.
I will ask one last related question, and it relates to recreation fees. Recreation fees are required for commercial uses. This is an agricultural property. We did not address this matter with the planning commission. We can take it back to the planning commission if you desire, but ultimately it's a board decision on recreation fees. We would ask relief from the recreation fee requirement for this project and ask to take your temperature on that matter as it stands, or because it's in the agricultural district, agricultural use, and I grant will modify.
I think your last sentence probably sums it up. We're definitely modifying the use, and I think I think I'll probably speak on behalf of the board here if I can, and I mean, chime in, but we just stepped through this with another applicant in the community, and we've been really trying to hold the ground on where we stand and on rec, park and space, those fees. And I think we're probably gonna, bring up the ordinance and put that before the applicant and say the ordinance requires, what is the size?
For non-residential, it's 2.5% of the area.
So I would say.
So where half of the property is restricted to ag and can't be used for anything else, is it logical that you would consider the portion that is commercially used as applying to the open space requirement?
Be up to the board.
Yeah, be up to the board. Yeah, I mean, Corey.
Yeah, I wouldn't take the whole.
Okay.
lot.
Ethan,
That's what
Mike.
my
Ethan, Mike.
temperature is.
Yeah, my temperature is the same as Corey's.
Good. Good. Okay.
All right, we will ask for consideration to table the plan as
Okay.
it's presented.
Okay.
And we'll continue with the staff to get back to layers of design.
The only question I would raise then is as far as time on the application, whether we're up against the deadline.
We are.
In the
We have
March
no
20.
March.
We've already granted an extension.
Thank you.
You did see, you read from Mark, so I'm assuming you guys saw the DMA January 7th, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, applicant's going to table and gather with staff and work through the process. Okay.
Yeah, very specifically, we will seek an opinion on that.
Okay.
Specific.
Okay. I know this is an extremely difficult parcel. I know it is. I see it. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. And we are committed to doing what we can within the means of the law, within the means of the ordinance, within the means of precedent. We have to be able to work with this in a way that we don't set ourselves up for problems in the future.
Understood, and I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Never want to take that for granted.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Thanks, Ben. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Corey took a slight break here, so he'll be right back. I'll just move my stuff around here, guys. Okay, item number 10C, Greenleaf Land Development Plan number 21-30, 2369 Old Philadelphia Pike. Is there someone here? Okay, if you would, you'll need to speak into the mic. You can hold that mic if you want to. Just state your name and who you're here for the record, okay?
My mask, just so it's easier to hear me.
Great.
Good evening. My name is Todd Curl. I'm with RGS Associates. We are here this evening to introduce and talk about the Greenlee Plants project property. I'm sure you're all familiar. It's right around the corner here. Your neighbors. What you're seeing on the photo exhibit, and I apologize to gentlemen, aren't getting to see this one. But what we have here is the project starts out as some infill, some additional greenhouses that fill in an existing gravel area. I think there's some storage and some parking in that area right now. And then in the back as well, some additional greenhouse space. There is one small area of additional impervious in this corner right here. With the new uses of the new structures, we are required to do some stormwater. So there's some small stormwater BMPs in this area, which captures this area, and also additional stormwater BMP on the north end, which captures the majority of this right here. And then also in conjunction with the project is some stormwater maintenance. We are trying to get back in line with all the stormwater requirements. And so what it's not shown here, but it does show up on our ENS plan. It highlights some additional maintenance areas that will be happening to the stormwater facilities, some of the perimeter of the gravel area, just as cleanup to meet some of the ENS current items. So what you're seeing here is what we'll call a phase, to keep it simple. In 1997, a full site plan was approved. There was actually a significant additional number of greenhouse structures we were going further to the west. In fact, it would have extended, I believe, into that area. So it was a significantly larger area. They did have buildings here, and this continued all the way as well. So what we're doing is we're filling in here, and we're adding some additional structures right there. Here. So with that in mind, as well as following up on that 1997 plan, there's a little bit of landscaping that has to go in line with this. I believe it must have gotten missed during the initial construction, so we were getting back up to speed and back in compliance with that. So the plans that are in front of you guys would address that. And following the planning commission meeting last week, we did follow up with some additional digital copies to our engineer DNA. I did get confirmation from Scott that you can see those and I'll be looking through them. With those, we did address all of the open comments in the plan that we made. We also did confirm that we have addressed all of the county comments as well. With this project, we are asking for 2 waivers. And waiver number 1 would be salary section 303, preliminary plan. This is a fairly simple plan, site work, so we have requirements. And then the second waiver is for section 302A.2.c, which is your BMP levy ratios. Just as the previous presenter discussed, we do have some stormwater facilities that are fairly small. We are managing what's getting to them. And the loading ratios that we're proposing do fall in line with our geotech has recommended. Additionally, both of those waivers the engineer recommended. There were 3 other items that we initially requested. They made a recommendation that we should be referral. So we have, in fact, added on the cover page of the referral note. And actually, at the planning commission meeting last week, we did provide a signed copy of the referral. So that is a simple discussion. Are there any questions?
Great, nice and summarized. Board, Corey?
So we do not have a new letter from David Miller Associates in response to that. That's fine. Okay, just checking.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Scott did in fact.
Got the email, confirmed it.
And he said,
That's fine.
Okay.
Just want to be clear with that.
Yep. So our DMA letter of January 5 has all these
Yeah.
points on there.
Exactly.
Um, Applicant is saying that
Right.
we've communicated that we are agreeing with those deferrals.
Right.
Ethan or Mike? Mike, I think you're muted. You're going to be we got you. We got you, Mike. Hold on. Can you unmute him?
We're good.
There you go. Yep. Go ahead, Mike.
Those new units are on the north side, just as I'm looking at it. North side of your property. And are there 4 of them or are there 8 of them?
It's actually one structure. They're all connected.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But there's 8 branches that go off of the one.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other, you have a few on the front side.
Correct. Yes. There's 3 structures that all combine the one side by side.
And Mike, if you haven't seen it, or I guess you have your drawing there, but
I have it.
applicant has 2 stormwater retention and processing BMPs, one just north of those large 8 units, and one sort of southeast of the smaller ones.
Okay. Just as a question, is there new technology involved now in building of greenhouses?
I would assume that is not the case. Is there new technology?
Materials, how they do it, anything like that?
Steel, it's going to remain steel, aluminum, and concrete. right? Which means lots of stormwater runoff, but they've got that covered, so. Okay. All right, Roger, question.
So the maintenance items on the existing stormwater management, is that on the digital copy?
It is, and it should be, if you have stormwater plans, it should be.
So DMA is comparable with
With
all that?
We are in fact going through to gather a PDS permit from the Conservation District.
All right.
as well.
And our staff has looked at that also?
Yes.
Okay. Not represented on this map. but-
It's not represented on this
Yeah,
map.
okay, just wanted to verify that.
What we do have are, there's several stormwater facilities that exist,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's just going into the things.
okay.
I think there's some riprap removal and replacement. I think there's some stone cleanup around the existing lots.
Somewhat, I'm sorry, somewhat off topic, but maybe related a little bit. I think staff would like to talk with the property owner about retrofitting those large basins for improved water quality and possible credits associated with that that the township needs to get through our MS4 permit. So again, sort of off topic, but I wanted to
Take
get
the
that
opportunity.
comment. in.
Yeah.
I'll make sure
Yeah.
with the owner.
Projects to get done to improve water quality.
I mean, those are big basins.
They are.
And retrofitting them for contemporary standards would probably give us good credits.
I think there's potential there, yeah.
Good. You'll reach out to the.
We will.
Okay, all right. Okay, board, if there's no other questions or conversation, applicant, no further presentation. Okay, we thank you for that. Okay, board, is Sarah, what's your interest?
Motion.
Okay,
Make a motion for the Greenlee Land Development Plan 2130, 2369 Old Philadelphia Pike. Motion based on the January 5th, 2022 David Miller and Associates letter and the County of Lancaster Planning Commission letter dated December 6th, 2021. Contingent on both of those.
okay, motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Corey and seconded by Roger. Questions or concerns, board? Any comments from the public? Tara, nothing come in? Okay,
Happy to see growing.
okay. All right. Motion's on the table, been seconded by Roger. Ethan,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Roger,
Aye.
Corey.
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Good luck. It's always nice to see this business continue to grow. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, item number 10D. Time extension for Township Action Plan number 21-32, 1782 Lincoln Highway. Is there anyone here for this? No one on the Zoom for this? Okay, Ralph.
Applicants received review comments, they're working on review comments and need some more time to complete that effort.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion for time extension for Township Action Plan 2132, 1782 Lincoln Highway.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Corey, seconded by Roger. Questions? Hearing none, those in favor? Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Sorry. I'll do the roll call next time here. 10E, a time extension for Township Action Plan number 21-33, 419 Mount Sydney Road. Is there anyone here for this?
There's not.
Okay, Ralph?
Essentially the same situation. They've had plans reviewed, have reviewed comments, and they're working on satisfying those comments.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion for time extension for Township Action Plan 2133, 419 Mount Sydney Road.
Or a second?
Second.
Say Mike.
Motion's on the table. Corey has made the motion and Mike has seconded the motion. Questions or concerns? Hearing none. Ethan?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Roger.
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item number 11A. This is a resolution in reference to the police forfeiture fund for additional 2022 appropriation. Ralph, do you have some additional information for us on this?
Yes, I had hoped that Chief Zerby would remain in the room, but
He may have forgotten.
he may have. This was an item that came up recently. It was not known when the board was going through the budgetary approval process. The officer that we have assigned to the DEA has an opportunity to pursue some specialized Spanish vocabulary instruction, and feels that that would help him in performing his duties. And Chief is proposing that the cost of that be paid for with police forfeiture money.
Okay. I would just recommend that we spell check it. There's a spelling error there.
We will,
Second sentence.
we will spell check it before we ask you to sign it.
Yes. plan.
It's planned expenses, not planned expenses. And missed. Okay, Chief is asking for some additional funds to be able to support training of our DEA resource. Questions or concerns? Ethan, Mike? Roger? Corey? Okay.
Sure.
Somebody want to?
Yeah, make a motion for a resolution for the police forfeiture fund for additional 2022 appropriation.
Okay, motion's been made by Corey. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ethan. Motion's on the table. Questions or concerns? Hearing none, those in, hearing Ethan?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion passes. Hey, item number 11B, 2021 Planning Commission Annual Report, required by the MPC to have Planning Commission give the Board of Supervisors an annual report.
That's correct. And they reviewed it last week, approved of it, and passed it on to the board. There is no particular action that the board needs to take on it, but just acknowledging that it has been received.
You know, it's great that, you know, we have that dialogue that occurs here tonight. We referenced, you know, see the Planning Commission, see the Zoning Hearing Board, you know, obviously, you know, Zoning Hearing Board in particular, required by law. But I appreciate the annual reports.
Yeah.
If you read them, I do like to see it. Having served on the County Planning Commission at one time, you know, I do see the value of having a planning commission. Roger, you served on the Planning Commission before you came here, correct?
I was a rerun over there too.
All right.
Boomerang.
Roger Boomerang. Boomerang.
Yes.
All right, good, thank you. Thank you, Roger. Okay, any questions for Tara? Anyone, any of the board, questions for Tara for Planning Commission? Anyone?
I appreciate their hard work.
Okay, thank you for that. Thanks, Ralph. Okay, item number 12, Manager's Report. Ralph.
Sure, just a few things I wanted to make sure the board was aware of. We continue to work on the various projects on the implementation of the Lincoln Highway Streetscape Plan. The one that I wanted to call out today was we were recently informed by PennDOT that the Western Gateway Project, which is that portion of 462, roughly in the Walmart area, moving east, had been planned to stop at Oakview Road. They found that the amount of money that had been originally allocated for the project will go farther. So the project is going to be extended east all the way to Harvest and the LMS driveway intersection. So we're excited about that.
And the PennDOT is telling you the money that's been allocated, in other words, PennDOT's funds that they're bringing into this. They're saying we've got more funds and we want to make that go further.
Yeah, this project is fully funded. All the design and construction costs are all PennDOT funded project.
And tell us, where's it at in time frame?
Our expectation is that they would probably be opening bids early 24 and start construction shortly after that. So probably in 2024 is when construction would begin.
2.5 years or so for, till we start construction.
Yes.
Okay. Can you, while we're on the streetscape, can you talk to us about the Eastern Gateway and just sort of what's happening down there? I know we've been trying to work with one of our business partners down there. And they have perhaps not been in a position to move on some of the things. But we've been received some funds from the state for, you know, pathway, bike pathway and so forth down there. Where do we stand with that?
Well, I want to make sure I'm addressing the right project. There is a PennDOT project to improve the intersection at Lincoln Highway.
Sorry, I was forgetting about that one. I'm specifically thinking of you know, the effort we're moving forward with to try to take our pathway and multimodal down through the Rockville.
Okay, yeah, we've referred to that as the Rockville Trail Project. We had not been moving that forward because of the expectation that we'd be seeing redevelopment plans there. But I do feel we're going to have to start moving that project forward regardless of not having seen redevelopment plans yet. So we'll re-engage with our consultant and start to move that project forward soon.
Yeah, if you know, I'd hate to not take advantage of the dollars we have.
Oh, yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, we don't want to let those dollars miss this project. So, yeah, we'll make sure of that.
Okay. So this year, you're envisioning 2022, we could begin to re-engage with the consultant for that and move in that direction?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Have we heard from Rockville, or are they been quiet now for 2 years?
We have not heard anything from Rockville themselves. We have not received a master plan.
With that overlay, you mind if I just ask?
No, please do.
So we approved a new overlay for that area. Is there anything in that overlay agreement, I'm putting that in air quotes, that said they had to make movement or do anything over a certain period of time?
There is not.
Okay, so basically that overlay is there, and we need to have a master plan and of course land development and all those other things.
Right. I mean, the indication that you know, they were the ones that ultimately proposed the ordinance revision. And so I think everybody's expectation was that they wanted to move in that direction.
Right.
A lot of things have changed in the last couple of years. So
Sure.
We have had a scoping meeting come through and a scoping meeting through PennDOT come through to us for a convenience store on the Rockville property.
Mhm.
And I informed both PennDOT and the applicant, who never reached out to us,
Mhm.
that they needed to do so because this was not an allowed by right use. They had to come through as a master plan.
You got that, what are you calling that?
A
It's
scoping
scoping
meeting
plan?
request?
Scoping meeting request?
it's a normal thing in PennDOT's process whenever somebody's proposing to make a use change or needs to do a traffic study essentially for a new driveway or access issue.
Well, it's
So-
PennDOT's opportunity to draw in the municipality to start to kind of take the temperature and get a feel for where this is going. And of course, the big red flag that's coming up is this doesn't fall within that overlay district. This is something that's gonna.
Well, the overlay district does permit convenience stores as part of
an
an overall
master
plan, as part of a master plan, which we don't have.
Okay. So will the Rockville Rail Trail, will that be, if we move ahead on that, is that going to be jeopardized by the property owner coming in and saying, hey, now that's not part of my master plan, I'm gonna demo that and change it around?
Well, we hope to continue to communicate with the property owner and make sure that as best we can, that as the trail is developed, it will be incorporated into their future plans as well.
Okay.
But I think that risk does exist, right? They could say, yeah, well, we did agree at that time, but our new master plan has a building there, or whatever, but I think it's a risk you have to take.
And we're getting that partially funded with the state RCAP dollars.
Correct. We got $500,000.
And we painted the picture for explicitly what the plan is to go through Rockville property.
Yes.
Now, Rockville needs to hear from us that we're moving ahead with this and we need you to work with us on this.
Yeah. Oh, well, we have communicated with them up until now, and we will continue to do that as we move forward.
Thank you, Ralph. Walnut Street Extension.
Walnut Street, our current efforts related to that project and the Lancaster Heritage Pathway are to get the agreement that's necessary from PennDOT with the township that would allow us to maintain and operate the proposed trail and trailhead on PennDOT right of way. So we're working through that process now.
ARPA regulations.
Yes, finally, there are final regulations out. The biggest news out of it is that they have established essentially a cap on replacement revenue dollars at $10 million. So if you don't have as much as $10 million, which we're only going to have about 1.7. So all of our funds can essentially be considered as revenue replacement, which will make life easier for East Lampeter Township. I've asked our department heads to come up with suggestions of ideas on different possibilities for use of those funds. We'll put that list together, try to suggest some priorities, and then bring that to the board for discussion. And obviously the board's decisions.
Or are you hearing from other municipalities what they're weighing as options for that?
Yeah, I've heard some are using it, just for expenses that they had over the past couple of years for normal operating expenses. I've heard others say they want to use it for stormwater projects. I guess those are up until now, most of the managers that I've had contact with have all said, waiting for guidance before we make any decisions.
Or cap projects, things that could seed something else,
Right. I think that's part of what we want to do too, is, there are some grant programs out there that might be advantageous. We could use this as matching dollars.
Yeah, it'd be great.
So we'll try to come up with those ideas and suggestions for the board to look at.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Township Auditor.
Yeah, just as a follow-up from the board's discussion at the last meeting, we did find out that the current principal at Mayor Dussel has done the last 3 years of audits. And so, based upon the board's discussion, 5 years seemed to be a point in time where change needed to happen. So we could still look at getting proposals if that's what the board would like to do, but I just wanted to provide that information that it hadn't been 5 years, even though we've had Mayor Dussel for that period of time, it hasn't been the same principal for that period of time.
Ethan, you had brought that up. You had suggested, having a different individual look at this or a different firm. What are your thoughts to Ralph's presentation there?
Yeah, so within a larger firm, you can shift which is the main principal who does the review of the audit. So as long as they have, or we communicate to them, we would like to, I think they're a good firm. So we could always rebid it out, or we could just, I think at some point we should adopt a policy of either adjusting firms or the principal every 5 years within a firm. And then we can always go quicker than that. But that's sort of, either one is I'm fine with. So if that principal's been doing for 3 years, we got another 2 years left with them, and then they can either change the principal or we can rebid it out.
Okay. Corey?
Yeah, I agree with Ethan. I mean, I would rather keep it in the same firm if we're happy with them. An RFI, RFP takes time, takes staff time, takes the time of the, the accounting firms as well. We're happy with them. Just switch up the principal, and I think that works.
Good. Mike, Roger? Thoughts?
Agree with Ethan. At some point, standardize it.
Okay, okay. Okay, all right. Maybe come back to us, Ralph, if you can, just with, there's a recommended policy for the board, to adopt every 5 years. We will, either put out for bid, or, the board can choose to have staff work with the existing firm and just seek another principal in the firm to be on.
We'll draft a policy.
Good, thank you very much, appreciate that. Nothing else, Ralph?
That was it for tonight.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Ralph. Appreciate that. Always appreciate hearing from the things that are going on around your desk. So, board, further questions or comments? Is there a motion for adjournment? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, the board is going to meet afterwards. Mike and Ethan, we'll loop you into this too through a phone call, and we will have an executive session to discuss some personnel matters. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion has been made by Corey. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mike. Those in favor, Ethan,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Roger, Corey.
Aye.
And chair says aye. Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
John, take 5 for a minute.
Yeah, hold on just a second, Mike and Ethan. Yeah, hold on. That's fine. Yep, we'll call you in about 5 minutes, guys.
Okay.
Call you on your phones. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Thank you, Steve.